Reclaim that raw, undeniable energy from just 2 years ago when every matchup felt like a monumental collision of history. Picture 19,000 souls fueled by pure adrenaline, surging to the rafters of Crypto.com arena just to catch a glimpse of Caitlin Clark's dominance. That was the gold standard, a period of relentless commercial explosion where merchandise vanished instantly and the league's financial engine roared with absolute authority. Back then, every road trip turned into a hostile takeover of the home crowd, and sold-out arenas were the baseline, not the exception. But the landscape has shifted into a chilling, high-stakes crisis that should leave every front office executive paralyzed with fear. This is WNBA Pro, and we are exposing the systemic collapse that leadership is fighting to keep in the shadows. With fan loyalty fractured and the bond of trust disintegrated, the catastrophic ticket data for the Indiana Fever and Los Angeles Sparks is no longer just a red flag. It is a final warning of a looming financial blackout.
Injuries. Rumor has it, don't blink now, but there are no reported injuries. Allegedly, we're heading into this game with a full...
The atmosphere surrounding the Indiana Fever has shifted from anticipation to an eerie, calculated skepticism that should rattle the organization to its core. Breaking news should be a catalyst for celebration, yet the front office's release of a completely vacant injury report, alleging a roster at 100% peak health, has been met with a wall of chilling silence and sharp disbelief. On paper, a fully loaded squad ready for battle is the ultimate marketing victory, but the reality on the ground is a fan base that refuses to be blindsided again. The trust between the fans and leadership has been systematically dismantled. Followers of Caitlin Clark are no longer buying a narrative pushed by Stephanie White or the Fever franchise. Looking at the wreckage of last season's catastrophic mismanagement, this clean bill of health isn't being viewed as a miracle. It's being interrogated as a deception. The wounds are still deep, the betrayal is fresh, and the Fever are finding out the hard way that once you break the bond with your audience, even the best news feels like a threat.
Minutes restriction, everybody. Is Caitlin Clark going to be on minute restriction with this ghost back issue? That's not a ghost back issue, but it's just realignment. Is Monique Billings going to come back and be fully thrown into the lineup, or are we going to put her on minutes restriction? Is Aaliyah Boston still going to sit the fourth quarter, or is she still on minutes restriction? Is Lexi Hull or...
The fan base is erupting with cynical, hard-hitting questions as they refuse to forget a months-long campaign of systematic deception and narrative manipulation. We remember the calculated drama surrounding Caitlin Clark's health, the phantom back issues that were conveniently rebranded as mere alignment problems, while she was forced to retreat to the locker room twice during a high-stakes national broadcast. Now, this suspiciously pristine injury report is being treated as a smokescreen for more sideline interference. Fans are demanding the truth. Is Clark facing a secret, unannounced minutes restriction that will neutralize her impact? Will Monique Billings be unleashed as a dominant force or intentionally buried on the bench? And most critically, will Aaliyah Boston be mysteriously sidelined during the fourth quarter heat while the game hangs in the balance? The trust is gone, replaced by a fierce demand for transparency as the Indiana Fever front office finds itself under a high-intensity microscope where every rotation is viewed as a potential betrayal.
On the Fever injury report, it's been 2 years since I've seen them say no injuries. Me still living through the PTSD of last season. I feel like I should frame this. Are you sure you're sure? It's been a while. So no minute restrictions on AB, Lexi Hull, CC, and Monique Billings. Will the game be worth tuning in? Okay.
The fan base has reached its breaking point, refusing to swallow another round of perceived front office manipulation and calculated deception. Across every digital platform, the outcry is deafening as supporters recall the financial sting of spending hundreds on tickets only to see their icons anchored to the bench in street clothes. The Chloe BBY incident stands as a permanent scar, a blatant bait-and switch where she was cleared for battle only to be stripped from the active roster at the 11th hour. This isn't just a medical failure. It is a predatory marketing tactic that exploits the loyalty of fans who invest their hard-earned capital into travel and lodging. By prioritizing short-term hype over long-term integrity, the Indiana Fever have effectively set fire to their own credibility. But as the social media storm intensifies, the narrative is shifting from a crisis of trust to a total economic meltdown. Stripping away the emotion, the cold, clinical reality of professional sports reveals a terrifying trend. The numbers are beginning to reflect a franchise in freefall.
It doesn't look like they're selling tickets for the upper deck. Caitlin Clark's first game against Los Angeles Sparks, her rookie year, they said a new Crypto.com arena, I believe packing 19,000 individuals in that building. 19,000 individuals in that building. And fast forward 2 years later, here we are. We are not selling the top row, the top sections anymore. Section 300s, not.
The optics surrounding the upcoming Los Angeles Clash have shifted from a marquee spectacle to a localized disaster, as the reality of the seating chart exposes a staggering lack of demand. Despite the presence of a generational talent like Caitlin Clark, the upper deck of Crypto.com Arena has been rendered a ghost town, with the entire 300 level systematically grayed out and removed from the market. This isn't just a scheduling fluke. It is a calculated retreat by management who, faced with depressing internal financial forecasts, realized the operational costs of staffing the rafters far outweighed the actual ticket interest. By aggressively tarping off massive sections, the organization is attempting to forcibly consolidate a dwindling crowd into the lower bowl, a desperate move to mask the embarrassment of an empty stadium before the national television cameras start rolling. What was once the most anticipated ticket in women's basketball has hit a chilling wall of consumer apathy, turning a primetime showcase into a controlled exercise in damage limitation.
Standard only, you'll notice that there's still a shit ton of seats available. 180, 130 bucks. I mean, these are cheap prices, folks. 100 bucks to sit in section 101. 188 to sit in section 110. Behind the basket at $55, $56, $78, $76 behind the basket.
If you think the lower bowl is a fortress of sold-out success, the data tells a far more devastating story. The digital seating maps are drowning in a sea of blue dots, representing thousands of unsold seats as prices go into a full-scale freefall. What was once the most expensive ticket in the game has cratered. Prime seats in section 101 are being offloaded for a mere $100, while spots right behind the basket are languishing at $55. During the height of the Clarkonomics surge, these same views required a massive financial sacrifice, with home opener nosebleeds recently commanding nearly $900. Now, as the fever hit the road, the market has completely bottomed out in what can only be described as the Stephanie White effect. This isn't just a local slump or a social media trend. It is a spreading financial contagion that is bleeding far beyond the borders of Indiana and threatening the league's entire economic ecosystem.
I'm telling you, it's not just the Indiana Fever feeling the Stephanie White effect. It's going to be other owners across the league as well when they're asking themselves, why aren't we packing this out like we did a few years ago? Why are our merchandise sales down? Why are our concessions down? Why aren't we receiving this from that? Why aren't we receiving that from this? I saw Rudy's video the other day. Shout out to Rudy. Coming out of the podcast. Go subscribe. He went more in depth. Washington Mystics game. Ton.
The WNBA is currently chasing a historic $900 million media rights surge. But that billion-dollar dream is colliding with a brutal reality. You cannot secure the bag while your flagship franchise is actively alienating its most loyal supporters and playing in half-empty arenas. As the Indiana Fever struggle, a financial contagion is spreading. Owners in Atlanta and Washington are watching their own attendance figures crater, realizing that the league's fragile economic ecosystem depends on the Fever's ability to draw a crowd. When the fans stay home due to perceived management manipulation, it triggers a devastating domino effect of plummeting merchandise sales, concession revenue, and television ratings that could turn the league's valuation into a nightmare. On the court, the potential is undeniable. A lineup featuring Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, and Aaliyah Boston has championship DNA. But success hinges on execution and transparency. Sophie Cunningham must dominate in transition and punish the defense from deep, especially as the Los Angeles Sparks bring a physical, punishing front court that will test Indiana's resolve and paint. Ultimately, the true battle isn't being fought on the hardwood, but in the front office. The Fever must decide if they can repair